name is Michael Charles. I will demonstrate the proper procedure to do a pre-trip on a ready-mix concrete truck. And what we're going to do now is a visual inspection of the truck. What you want to do is make sure that there's no obvious damage to the truck, no puddles under the truck such as radiator fluid, oil, or hydraulic fluid. Come around to the side and make sure there's no broken or missing lights, no broken hoses. When you come around the back of the truck, you want to look at all your lights, your tail lights, make sure there's nothing broken or missing. All your hoses are intact. When you come around this side of the truck, you'll make sure all your cables are attached, nothing's broken or missing. Look underneath this side of the truck, make sure there's no fluid on the ground. Look at your fuel tank, no fuel on the ground, no broken or missing hoses. Look at your mirrors and your windows, make sure there's nothing cracked or broken. You want to come around the front of the truck, look at all your headlights, make sure they're not cracked or broken, look at your windshields. Basically, this is just a visual inspection of the truck, make sure the truck is okay before you start your pre-trip. So what we're going to do now is an inspection of the engine compartment. Unlatch the hood, come around to the front, 2 hands on the hood, 1 foot on the bumper, raise the hood up. Slide your hand up the hood, don't let it slam down so you don't damage the wires and the springs. What we're going to check is fluid levels, windshield wiper fluid, make sure you have that. Power steering fluid, go ahead and pull that up, make sure that level's okay, and this level is good. Next you want to look for is any obviously broken hoses or leaks. Power steering connections, make sure all that's good. Brake canisters, brake lines, air compressor, the lines and the air compressor, make sure that's okay. Look at your fan, look at your fan belt. This is the air intake. Go ahead and wiggle something. If it comes apart, it means it's too loose, it needs to be fixed. Look down here at your leaf springs, any broken leaves, your axle, look at any cracks or breaks that need to be fixed. Look at the radiator, make sure all the mounts in the radiator and the fan housing, make sure that's okay. Air canister, make sure that's intact, not wiggling around, it's going to fall off. Everything you want to look for, make sure everything is in its right spot. No leak, broken, damaged hoses, or cracked housings anywhere. This truck looks real good from this side. Okay, from this side, we're going to check the radiator fluid first. Take the cap off, look at the fluid, it's a good level. While you're up here, check the top radiator hose, look at the clamps, make sure they're okay. Look at all the other hoses, make sure they're all right. You can get a top view of the fan, make sure that's okay. Air intake, go ahead and wiggle it. Make sure the clamps are intact. This side of the air box, make sure all that's intact. Okay, from this side, what you want to do is you're going to look at your radiator mounts, make sure they're all tight and secure. You get a better view of your fan belt from this side. Make sure that's all non-frayed and in one piece. Fan, intake mounts, make sure all your clamps are there. All these clamps need to be tight and secure. All the turbo intake, make sure all that's secure. Down here you can look at your leaf spring, make sure there's no cracked or broken leaves. You can look at your brake canister, make sure that's intact, tight, no broken hoses. You can look inside here at the exhaust, make sure there's no dark marks for an exhaust leak. And you can look, this is your oil. You pull your dipstick out, make sure your oil is in good shape, and this oil is full right now. You put your dipstick all the way back in, make sure it's all the way in so it doesn't come out, no oil leaks out. Basically what you will look for is any broken or missing pieces. All the clamps are in place, no leaks, the engine compartment looks good. Okay, we're going to go ahead and do our in-cab inspection. Whenever entering any vehicle, you want to use 3 points of contact. While we're here, before we get in, we're going to look at our fire extinguisher, make sure it's fully charged and latched since it's right here. We're going to go ahead and enter the truck. Okay, we're inside the cab. First thing you want to check is your vehicle registration, proof of insurance, and camera in the glove box. Then you look at your steering wheel. Make sure that's not going to come off when you're driving. And look at your seat belt. Bring your whole belt out. Make sure that's not cut or frayed in any way. Go ahead and latch it. Make sure that's not going to come out. Look at your rev counter. Make sure you can zero that out. While you're down here, look at your slump meter. This truck has an inside slump meter. Make sure it's not cracked or broken or leaking. You look at your defroster, heater, and air conditioning. Make sure that's all in working order. And your emergency equipment, your triangles, make sure you have those. Your fuses and your fire extinguisher. And then we'll look at your gauges. Make sure your gauges all work. Your low air warning device works, and all your gauges are in working order. Your windshield wipers, make sure your windshield wipers work, and they do. And you want to look at your mirrors, make sure you have your mirrors aren't cracked or broken, and your windshields aren't cracked or broken. You look at your GPS, make sure that comes on. Your company radio, that also needs to come on, and that does. City horn and your air horn, make sure those both work. And good housekeeping, this truck has real good housekeeping, and make sure there's nothing on the floor that's going to roll under your feet while you're driving, and make it so you can't press down on the brake or the gas pedal. Basically, this truck is in real good condition, and we're ready to finish our pre-trip. And what we're going to do now is a outside pre-trip inspection. First thing you want to start with, most obvious, is the headlights. Make sure your headlights work, top marker lights on the roof work, and the turn signal and flashers work. Come over here to the front bumper, give it a tug, make sure that's tight. Your front fender, make sure that's good. Mud flat. Give the tire a thump, make sure it's got a good sound to it. You'll check all your lug nuts. You see any rust lines? It's indication of a loose lug nut. Make sure they're all tight. Look at your oil level, make sure that's good. Come over, look at your mirror, make sure that's on secure. Your battery cover, make sure that's on secure. Your door, open your door, make sure all the rubber is good. Make sure it latches and closes good. Handle, make sure that's on secure. Come over to your booster control, your pressure control. Make sure there's no leaking, broken hoses. You can look at your frame from here. Make sure everything's good. There's a lot of hydraulic hoses and electrical lines in here. We'll make sure they're not leaking or broken. Look at your hydraulic tank. Make sure the level's good. Come up here to the drum motor. Make sure that's on secure. Make sure there's no broken or leaking hoses. Your water tank, your sight tube. Make sure that's all clear until you can see how much water you have. Outside slump meter. Make sure the glass on that's clean and it's on there secure. Water tank. Give that a good tug. Make sure that's on secure. Your front tower. Make sure there's no cracks. Look on the inside of the tower. You see all the bolts and everything in there? Want to make sure those are all good, free of cracks. You got hydraulic lines and ductile lines running underneath the drum. Make sure those are all good. You can see the frame again right here. It's free of cracks. Rear fender. Make sure that's on secure. Marker lights, reflectors. Make sure those are all good. And you can look again at more hydraulic lines and electrical lines underneath the drum. Rear tires. Give all those a good thump. Any tire that has a different sound is indication of a low tire. While you're under here, you can look at the rear suspension. Make sure that's okay. Again, lug nuts. Make sure these are all tight and secure. Go around. Any loose nuts need to be taken care of immediately. Mud flap. Rear mud flap, front mud flap. Make sure those are all good. Reflector, marker lights. Water line, water meter. Make sure that's all good. Free of any cracks or dust or dirt. Booster ram. Make sure that's all good. All the lines are no leaking hydraulic lines or anything. Look on the inside of this rear tower. No cracks or missing pieces. EnviroGuard bucket. Make sure that's in there secure. EnviroGuard pump. Make sure that's secure. While you're back here, you can look at your rollers. Make sure your rollers are greased up and they're not broken or missing. Ladders nice and latched. Back here to the rear pendant. Make sure that's in there secure. Water hoses. Make sure those are secure. Look on the inside of this tower. Make sure that's has no cracks or missing pieces. And your booster, outside of your booster frame, your booster pins. Make sure those are all there and secure. You can go to your chute ram, hydraulic lines on your chute ram. Make sure those are not leaking. Make sure your chute is latched so it doesn't come down when you're driving. And you can come around. Booster tires. Give those a good hit. Make sure all your lug nuts are secure. There's an oil level. You can see the oil level on this one is good. Come around to the back side. Boost your fenders. Lights on your booster fenders and reflectors. They're all operating correctly. You come around your brake cans on your booster fenders. Make sure those are on. Air lines. Your axle. Make sure that's secure. steering stabilizer. Make sure these are secure, the shocks and the bar. Then you can look up, you can see your tail lights. Make sure those are working. Marker lights on the hopper, make sure those are working. Come around this side of the lights, reflectors, marker lights. Give this tire a good thump. That sounds good. All these lug nuts, make sure they're all secure and this oil level is good. You go to this side of the frame, you can see the inside of that side of the booster frame, all the hydraulic and air lines. Those are all in good condition and secure and all strapped down. You can see in your manual chute lock, make sure that's in position so your chute is locked. You can check your booster latch, make sure the spring on that is in position and working. Your chute hangers, make sure those are not rusted out and are attached to the truck. And your chutes, make sure every single one of your cables is attached onto your chute. From this side, you can see this side of the rollers, make sure those are in good condition. And there's a lot of hydraulic lines on this side of the frame that you couldn't see from the other side. You need to look at all those, a lot of electrical lines also. And your booster ram, you can see the bolts on your ram, those are all in good condition. Your rear fender, make sure that's in good condition. Again, your lights, reflectors, make sure all those are on. Give these tires a good thump. Again, any low tire means, a bad sound means a low tire. Check your suspension underneath here while you're here. All these lug nuts too. Give them a quick wiggle, make sure there's none loose. Those are good. Front mud flap, rear mud flap, both in good condition. Nice and straight, no cracks. You can see on this side a lot of hydraulic and electrical lines. And your air tanks, make sure your air tanks underneath here are solid and mounted, good condition. And your front tower on this side, make sure it's in good condition. Toolbox, make sure that's mounted well. Spill kit, make sure your spill kit is mounted to the truck correctly. Brand new spill kit, so this one is going to be full. This side of the hydraulic tank, drum motor, and all your hydraulic lines. PTO motor, make sure these are on. No leaking hydraulic lines. This side you get a good look at your exhaust system. Make sure there's no dark marks anywhere. Give your exhaust system a tug, make sure it's on correctly. This handle, make sure that's on correctly. And your door. Doesn't hurt to do this door also. And it latches correct. Your fuel tank, make sure your fuel tank is on, doesn't move. While you're here, go ahead and check your fuel. This thing's full of fuel. This mirror, go ahead and wiggle the mirror, make sure it's on, it's not going anywhere. Your last tire, give that a thump. Check all your lugs just like you did on the other tires, and your oil level. You come around and pretty much done with your pre-trip, and I think this truck is good to go, ready to get on the road. Now this is going to be a test of the backup alarm. Now we're going to test the strobe light. Okay, what I'm going to do now is try to move the truck with the parking brake engaged. Okay, the truck won't go anywhere, so the parking brake works just fine. It is a test of the parking brake after I started rolling. And that works just fine, stops the truck immediately. What I'm going to do now is a test of the normal braking with the foot brake after I've started rolling. Works just fine. Perfect. I've just demonstrated the proper procedure for doing a pre-trip inspection on a Vulcan Materials ready-mix concrete truck. You're also required to fill out an EMS driver's report at the beginning of every shift. And also at the end of the day, you have to fill out a post-trip inspection on the same driver's report. Here at Vulcan Materials, safety is our biggest concern. And doing a proper pre-trip and post-trip inspection on any piece of equipment here at Vulcan Materials is very important, and that's what makes us the best.